Today's webinar is Review Basics Customization. My name is Amy, and I'm an account manager here at Bluebeam, and I also manage our training program where I work directly with our customers in developing custom training sessions. Today's training is designed for new users of Revu or existing users who might want to only be using a small percentage of the program's features and want to learn more. As you know, Bluebeam Revu is a smart, simple PDF solution that's designed to help take your workflows digital. The purpose of today's training is to demonstrate how you can leverage our various customization features. Customizing Revu will allow you better efficiency and increasing your productivity when working on documents within Revu. You'll also learn how to share your custom settings with your team via our Profiles feature. By the end of the training, you have learned how to completely customize your interface, how to create and share a custom profile, how to create and share custom tool sets, how to create custom columns in the markups list, and how to create custom stamps. While Revu is used by many people, for this training, I'm going to be assuming you're working within an AEC industry and the associated workflows. But at the end of the training, I'll cover some additional options for more customized training. So for those of you who have attended our other Revu Basics series, I just wanted to let you know the order of the content for today is going to be slightly different. Normally I would cover these core features first and then go into the focus of the webinar. Today I'm going to be covering the customization features spread out throughout the entire webinar, and we'll also be covering our markups, tool chest, markups list as well. So you'll get some of the core features as well as the customization content. Just to go over the agenda briefly, we're going to get started talking about profiles in Revu. We're going to cover how to customize the interface and the toolbars. Then we'll talk about how to mark up your document and how to create custom tool sets in the tool chest. We'll then talk about tracking all of your markups in the markups list and customizing that markups list with custom statuses and custom columns. Then we'll get into how to create custom stamps and cover some additional training options for when you want to get some more information. The training is going to last 1 hour. If something is not clear that I say, or you just have more questions as I'm going along, please use the chat window in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Just type in your question. I have two folks here, Joel from our support team and Jeremy from our account services team, and they're going to be here to answer your questions throughout the entire training. So please make good use of them, as I won't be able to answer questions individually. They're going to be doing that for me. We'll also have a little bit of time at the end to cover any questions that have come up that might be relevant to everyone. Also, just wanted to let you know we're going to be recording the training webinar, and we'll have it on our website sometime next week. So let's go ahead and get started. I was in presentation mode in Revu. I hit escape, and I'm going to get into the interface of Revu. Let's get started by examining the interface so you can get an understanding of where all the tools are located. So the Revu interface is designed with a command bar feature at the top. These first 6 icons, new, open, save, print, email, and studio, these are always going to remain constant on your screen. The remaining icons to the right are going to change out depending on which item in your menu bar you have selected. So you'll notice as I click on these different options in the menu bar, the command bar icons change out. And you'll notice here under the markup command bar, these are all the different kinds of markup tools you can use. You'll notice there's a down arrow on many of them. What will show you these are the different types of shape markup tools that you can use. So you can actually turn this text on and off. You'll notice the text that tells you what each of the commands are. You can do that by just right-clicking on the command bar, and you can just turn Show Text on and off. When you turn it off, it's going to have a little rollover effect, so you can still see what that text is. Just depends on how you prefer it. I'm going to keep that text on there. You can also minimize the entire command bar, and you can do that up here in the upper right-hand corner. There's a little arrow. When I click on that, it actually gets rid of that command bar and just leaves the menu items there. When you click on one, the command bar is going to show up, but then when you click away, it's going to disappear. If you want to just have more screen real estate to show more of your actual documents, you can actually get rid of that command bar, and you can just toggle this on and off with this little arrow at the top. When you select View and Interface, You have a few other options for customizing the interface here. You can actually, this is where you can also turn the command bar off altogether, and you have to hit F9 to get it to come back. You can also turn this status bar on and off. The status bar is this bar here at the very bottom. It's going to tell you the page size of the document you're working on. It's also going to have some additional features here. I'm going to show you what some of these are later, but you can just toggle that to turn that on and off. The same with this navigation bar. This is the navigation bar here at the bottom. It can be useful for paging forward and backward in your views and also being able to zoom in and out here. So you can turn that on and off there as well. So in addition to the command bar, we also have various tabs hidden behind 3 panels where we contain a lot of our additional features. So we have one panel on the left, and you can open it up by just clicking on this little white dot here, and I can close it there. We have the markups list panel is at the bottom, and you can just open that up. And then we have an additional panel here on the right-hand side. And we'll be going over some additional features that are hidden behind those panels throughout the training. So today's training is really all about taking an already easy-to-use program and making it even easier to use by customizing for your unique needs. We recognize that our program is used by a wide variety of professionals, whose daily workflows vary quite a lot. We have designers using Revu, project managers, superintendents, estimators, office workers. They all do very different things on a daily basis. So the first topic I want to discuss related to this is profiles. So if you notice here under the menu item view, we have the profiles icon here. A profile is basically controls what toolbars are showing, what custom tool sets are saved, and what commands are showing, and exactly how everything is laid out. All of that is controlled by the profile. If you click the down arrow, you'll notice that Revu actually comes with 7 different profiles that are already set up for you. Right now, I'm in a very simple profile. This is good for really just kind of basic viewing of PDFs. If I switch over to an Office profile by clicking on that, you'll notice that my interface reconfigured itself a bit, and now I have a whole lot of additional icons, toolbars here at the bottom. I also have all of my markup tools located here on the right-hand side. So what our customers are doing to be able to really leverage this feature is they are creating custom profiles for their company. So they can either do a custom profile for their entire company, maybe just a specific team, a discipline of how they're working, or for a specific project. Some people, they don't want, 30 different icons here showing because it's a little bit overwhelming. Maybe they only want to have the 10 or 15 commands that they're using on a regular basis to be showing on the interface. So you can do all that by creating a custom profile. So to do that, you just click on this guy with the bow tie. It's going to open up the Profile Manager. I'm going to go ahead and add a new custom profile. I'm just going to go ahead and call this ABC Company Profile. And I'm going to say OK. Now we have that selected. So now that we've actually created a new profile, now I can go in and basically customize my interface to get it looking exactly how I want it. So the first thing that you can do is you can go ahead and turn on and off toolbars as you see fit. So you can do that under View and then Toolbars. If you hit this down arrow, you'll notice these are all of the toolbars that are set up already. The ones that are checkmarked are the ones that are currently turned on. You'll notice this right here, this is called the Advanced Text Toolbar. It's not something that I really need to use on a regular basis, so I'm actually going to just turn that off. So you'll notice that it just simply disappeared there. Another thing I can do is I can pin an individual tool to an existing toolbar. So let's say, for instance, I'm someone who uses the lasso tool on a regular basis. The lasso is a tool for multi-selecting multiple markups at once. So you get to that by going to the Edit menu, and it's under Select, and this is the lasso option. So if you click on the little thumbnail here, this is going to allow you to pin that to an existing toolbar. So I just click on that and I say what toolbar I want to pin it to. I'm going to pin it to, this is my Edit toolbar right there. I'm going to go ahead and pin it over there. So I just select Edit, and now you'll see that individual command has been added to my Edit toolbar, so I can easily access it right here. You can go one step further and you can you can set up a whole new toolbar that you've just created, and pin an existing tool to that. So let's say I need to pretty regularly digitally sign documents that I'm working on. So I want to go ahead and find my Sign Documents tool, and I want to pin that to a new toolbar that I'm going to create. So I find the tool. In this case, it's under Document Signatures and Sign Document. So I'm going to go ahead and say pin this, and I'm going to go down to the bottom, and I'm going to say I want to create a whole new toolbar. I'm going to just call this Amy's Favorites. And I'm going to say OK. And now you'll see right over here, this entire new toolbar with this one little icon on there is now appearing. And you can also completely rearrange the order of your toolbars. You'll notice that there's a little borderline here. If you just click on it, you can then drag the toolbar anywhere you want it to be. So I could actually kind of move it all the way over here if I wanted. And then I could kind of reorder these toolbars. You could even, if you prefer, if you don't really want your markup tools over here on the right-hand side, maybe you want to save space and have everything at the top, I could literally take this and I could drag it up to the top if I wanted to do that. I actually prefer it on the right-hand side, so I am going to put it back over here. But however you prefer to work, you can move those toolbars in the exact location. And of course, once you save that profile, it's going to be saved there every time you open up Revu. Another thing that you can do is you can now pin a custom tool set. And we're going to talk more in depth about what a tool set is and what the tool chest is in just a little bit. But you can think of the tool chest as a symbol library of commonly used markups, so you can easily reuse them with one click of the mouse. Normally, if you wanted to open up a tool set in your tool chest, you would have to go over here to the left-hand panel and then open up your tool chest over here. And these are all of my custom tool sets that I've set up. But now you can actually pin these tool sets to your toolbar at the top, so you don't even have to open up this panel. And you do that by clicking on this Properties tab. I'm going to try to pin this electrical tool set. So I click on the Properties tab here, and I just say Pin to Toolbar. It's going to open up my Customized Toolbars dialog box. It's going to ask me basically, where do you want to pin it? I'm actually going to create a whole new toolbar called Amy's Tool Sets, and I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to take that electrical tool set, and I'm going to pin it over there. I just basically selected it, and I press the arrow to move it over. And I'm going to say OK. And now you'll notice I now have this custom tool set, this electrical tool set, pinned to my top, the top of my interface. So now I can select any of these markup tools that are customized for this electrical discipline right from the top. So the place that you'd want to go if you want to basically kind of recreate your entire interface from scratch is you want to go under View, Toolbars, Customize. And this is going to open up that dialog box we were just in. And this is where you can literally go in and create the exact toolbars that you want, turn off all the ones that you don't want. Just to give you sort of a real live use case of this, I had a GC customer who purchased Revu for their subcontractors, and he had a painting subcontractor who was a little intimidated by the software, and he wanted to basically create an extremely simple interface for them. So he literally turned off all of the toolbars that they didn't need and created one custom one with about 10 tools on it that they were going to use on a daily basis. He saved that as a profile for them and loaded it up on their machines with that profile showing, and they were able to use that very simple interface for their work. So just to show you how all this is laid out, these are the categories of the toolbars here at the top, and these are all the commands under each category. Actually, if I clicked on all, this would show you a list of every single command that you have to use in Revu. These are all of them. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, these are all the possible toolbars. And additionally, of course, you can click the plus button to set up a new one. Let's say for this example that I'm working on a punch process, and I want to create a special punch toolbar to use. I'm going to go ahead and call this, just call this punch. And I'm going to select it. And now I want to go through here and just select the tools, the commands that I'm going to use for this punch process. So let's say I'm definitely going to use our spaces feature for punch, so I'm going to move that over. So I just select it and click the arrow to move it over there. I definitely need to stamp these drawings, so I'm going to put the apply stamp on there. I also need to go in here and be able to potentially cut content, so I'm going to move that over there. And then I'm going to go down and see if there's anything else any other features that I need to add on to there. I'm also going to use our snapshot tool a lot for the punch process. So this is all alphabetical. I'm just going to scroll down here and find my snapshot tool, and I'm going to take that over there as well. So I could add as many other features as I want. I'm going to take this other space feature and add that in as well, and then say OK. And now you'll see I have my custom punch toolbar with all of the commands that I need to use for that process set up over here. I could then get rid of any other ones that I don't want and just have showing exactly what I need. Once I'm done setting everything up exactly how I like it, I could go in and select lock, and that's going to just lock all of these toolbars in place. And finally, as I have my interface set up, I want to go back over to my profile, and I want to actually export this profile. So I can just select it from the Manage Profiles dialog and then click on Export. You want to make sure that this Include Dependencies is checkmarked. The dependencies in this case is referring to the custom tool sets that I said also are saved with the profile. So that's going to save the custom tool sets with this profile. So when someone on your team, basically if you save this to your network drive, then they open up Revu, open up the Profiles, Manage Profiles dialog, and they click Import, and then select this profile, it's going to not only reconfigure their interface to match yours, it's also going to load up the exact same custom tool sets. So basically everyone on your team or for a particular project is running the exact same looking profile. And you can also do this as part of a remote deployment. When you're deploying Revu, you can deploy it with a custom profile in it as well. So that's the basics of going in and actually setting up a custom profile and customizing your interface to be able to share that profile with everyone on your team. So let's switch gears for just a moment and talk a little bit about the basics of moving about within an individual PDF file. I'm going to go ahead and open up a large format drawing here. You can see over here in the lower right-hand corner, it's a 42 by 30 inch drawing. Revu was set up to be able to navigate around within a document to work very similarly to AutoCAD. So if you've got a mouse with a scroll wheel, when I turn my scroll wheel upward, it's going to very smoothly zoom in on that drawing. If I turn my scroll wheel down, it's going to zoom out. If I wanted to pan over to the upper left-hand corner, I just basically move my mouse and then press down on the scroll wheel, and I can easily pan in to this corner. So you can see it's very smooth and easy to be able to move about in even very, very large documents. We also have a feature that's useful for being able to work more productively in multiple documents called split screens. And it's down here in the lower left-hand corner. So if I just click on split vertical, that's going to split my screen into two vertically. You can split your screens up to 16 times in Revu. You know, we have some customers that are using 50-inch monitors to work with their documents, so they will definitely split the screens 2, 3, 4 times. A 16 would definitely make them pretty small. But a couple different ways people use this. One way, if you have the same drawing and maybe you want to compare two different areas of it. In this case, I have these two stairwells, one at the top and one over here on the right. And I can zoom in very easily and be able to compare back and forth two different areas of the same drawing. Additionally, we have a feature called Sync. That's located on our status bar down here in the lower right-hand corner. If I click Sync, it's going to sync up these drawings. So as I zoom in on this room 1259, you notice it's actually zooming into the exact same place on the other drawing. So this is useful if you perhaps have a revision A, maybe on the left-hand side, or revision B of the same drawing on the right, and you want to quickly go through and be able to look for any changes between the two. You can sync it up. We, of course, have some other features for doing that with compare documents and overlay pages, but this is just a quick way to do it. Another thing you can do with split screens is to be able to look at two different documents at once, of course. So if I'm in here and maybe I'm doing some markups, making some notes on this drawing, and I need to reference some building codes, I can scroll through that on the left-hand side and literally be able to go in here and copy and paste text and copy them into markups if I need to. I can also split my screen again. I'm going to split it, in this case, horizontally. And if I just right-click here in the right next to the tab of that drawing, I can have a few options here. I can open up a web tab. So let's say I need to do some quick research and see if any of these building codes have been updated. I can go to the California Building Commission right here in Google, so you don't even have to leave Revu to be able to do any sort of internet research that you need to do. And I can get to their website, and you can readjust exactly how these screens are, how much is showing by just clicking on the border and moving it up and down. So now I can go to this website, search around for whatever documents I need without leaving Revu. To unsplit your screens, you can just go ahead and click on this X, and that's going to take you back. Click on it again. That's going to take you back to this original one window. So that's just a useful feature for being able to work in multiple panes at once. To open up a new PDF file in Revu, you have a few different options. Of course, you could always just click on any file with a PDF extension in Windows Explorer, and it will open up in Revu. You can also go up to your command bar here at the top, and you can always click on Open. We also have keyboard shortcut options if you're someone who prefers that. In this case, it would be Control+O. You also can use our feature called File Access, which you can locate file access. All of our features that are behind these panels, you can access them all from this upside-down triangle in the upper left-hand corner called Tab Access. You just click on that, you'll see all the options here. I'm going to open up File Access. So File Access provides you with one-click access to your most commonly used PDF files. It's the easiest way to open up files in Revu. You can really think of it as like a Windows Explorer right in Revu. So what you'll notice, I have some categories here at the top, folders that I created. We also have all of my recently used PDF files, and you can sort them by either date, by folder, by the most accessed, or access history, which I'm doing here. So when I do that, it basically sorts which PDF files I opened yesterday, today, a week ago, etc. And as I scroll over the file, you'll notice it shows me a little thumbnail of what that PDF file looks like. So just in case I've actually forgotten what that is, you can actually take a look at it that way. So let's say I'm working on a project and I know I'm going to be using the same files over and over again. You can pin any file and create a project folder to put all of those files in. So for instance, for this sheet set for this Sundance Resort, you're just going to right-click on it and then say pin, and then you can either pin it to an existing project folder, or I'm going to create a new folder. I'm just going to call this ABC Project, and I'm going to say OK. So now you'll notice at the very top of my file access, I have that project folder, ABC Project, and there's that file underneath it. And I can just click on it to open it up. And what you'll notice is when I opened it, you can see Revu allows you to open up multiple PDF files at once, and it just opens them up in new tabs here, just like what you might be used to when you're surfing the web, how it opens up new websites and tabs. So you can very simply be able to go back and forth between multiple PDFs by clicking on those tabs. So just to summarize, we've looked at how the interface is laid out and how to completely customize the interface and save it to a new profile. I've shown you how to navigate within an individual PDF, how to split the screens, and how to open up files in File Access. Now we're going to take a look at how to mark up documents in Revu and how to create custom tool sets in the tool chest. And just as a reminder, again, if you have some additional questions or I'm going too fast and you missed something, please feel free to type your questions into the chat area. So Revu is very well known for its industry standard markup tools that are known for being easy to use and to customize and reuse in our tool chest. So in the profile that I have set up, my markup tools are located over here on the right-hand side. Of course, I can also access them from the command bar as well. And we see at the top, just to give you a rundown of the different options, we've got some of my text tool options, a text box, a typewriter tool. Then we've got some different pen options, highlighter, pen, eraser. Then we get into the shape tools, the line tools, the call-out box, the cloud tool. Pretty much when we developed these markup tools, we looked at what people in AEC were doing on paper. So when they had their paper process, what tools they were using, and we tried to basically digitally recreate all of those. So you have all of those same tools available at your fingertips on the interface here. So let's say I'm going to just zoom in to this particular drawing. I want to draw some attention to this column here, this structural column. I'm going to select the cloud tool, just click on it, and go ahead and draw a cloud around that. I want this cloud to stand out a little more, so I'm going to adjust the appearance of the cloud. And you can do that in two places. We have this appearance toolbar up here, so I could use this background fill color if I wanted to add a fill color there. I could also change the opacity, so then I can actually see the underlying content behind it. You can also make any appearance changes by going to the Properties tab. So over here on the right-hand panel, for every single markup, it has a set of properties. These properties include a subject line at the top, which is very, very useful when we get into the markups list. So what our customers are doing with the subject line is they're typically changing it. By default, it's going to be the type of markup. But it's not really that relevant to you when you're tracking markups to have it sorted by the type of markup. It makes a lot more sense to make a subject line either be the discipline or maybe the name of the person doing it, something to reference what kind of markup this is. In this case, I'm going to change this to say structural, because this is going to be a structural comment that I'm making. And you'll see why that's so important when we look at the markups list. I could also go into the appearances here, and I could make changes to a number of the features all at once. I could change the line width of the cloud, the border color. All of that could be changed right here. Let's say I also want to do a quick call out here, and I'm going to just let them know here is the updated column spec. So I've just done a quick little call out here, and now I'm going to I want to place that column spec on the drawing to show them. We have a markup tool called Insert Image. I can just click on this little image icon, and it's going to ask me where that is on my hard drive, and I can go ahead and select that diagram of the column and literally just paste it down here onto the drawing. So now they know exactly what I'm talking about here. And I want to actually change the subject line for each of these two markups as well. I can use my lasso tool to multi-select those two markups, that call out and also the diagram. So now I just have to type that subject line in once, and it's going to change it for both of those at once. So now I have all of the subject lines changed. So I've just basically placed just 3 markups over here on the drawing. I wanted to show you the tool chest and talk a little bit about why the tool chest is so useful. Again, it's located over here on the left-hand panel. I can access my tool chest here. So you'll notice these 3 markups that I placed on the drawing, they're all located here under Recent Tools. Every single markup that you place on is going to be listed here. This is going to clear out every single time you close Review. So you'll notice this is actually that cloud that I placed on there. So if I needed to place it again somewhere, I could do that. But you don't often have to place the exact same shaped cloud. So if I double click on that markup, it turns it into what's called properties mode. So it retains all of the properties, the appearance properties, also that subject line that I set in, but it will allow me to basically draw any sized cloud that I actually need to draw. So I could draw it in whatever shape I need, but it's going to retain those properties and also retain that subject line that I set up. So basically, it allows you to create a markup tool, set properties to it, and be able to reuse it over and over again. So if I wanted to save this and use it again, I would want to move it up to My Tools, because this is going to clear out. But to really get into making maximum use of the tool chest, what you want to do is you want to create your own custom tool sets. So these are all examples of different custom tool sets. And the way people use these is they might create a specific tool set for different disciplines, and typically they will color code them by discipline. So the architect's comments are aqua, electrical or orange, mechanical blue, plumbing, purple, etc. They also preset that subject line to match that discipline, and then they'll put in whatever markup tools that they typically use to make those comments. You could also put in actual text boxes, like for instance, here's a text box. I happen to have to say this over and over again, update the as-built. It's something I need to often make a comment about. So you can literally just create that text box and then be able to just drag it out. You'll notice I also have my signature in here, a copy of my physical signature that I can just drag out onto a PDF. People also create custom tool sets for specific workflows. For instance, the RFI workflow has a custom stamp that has a signature in here. So you can think of those as different uses. And as I mentioned, the custom tool sets are saved to the profile. So when you load in a profile, it's going to load in the custom tool sets as well. You can also export individual tool sets and save them to people. So to create a new custom one, you're going to click on Manage Tool Sets. That's the cogwheel. This is going to show you all of your tool sets listed here. This is where you could go in and turn them on and off. I could also reorder them. So if I wanted to move this structural one up to be underneath plumbing, I can do that to reorder them here. If I wanted to create a new one, I'm just going to say Add. I'm going to go ahead and name the tool set. I'm just going to call this ABC Tool Set, and go ahead and say OK. You can decide whether you want it to show in all profiles or maybe just this individual profile, and whether you want it displaying right away or not, and if you want it to be a relative path. I'm going to leave all of those checked. It's going to go ahead and ask me to save it. It saves it as a .btx, and that one already exists, but I'm going to go ahead and say yes and overwrite that and say OK. And now you'll notice I have that ABC tool set there. So in terms of getting the markup tools into that tool set, a couple different ways you could do it. One is literally just drag it from any of my other tool sets and drag it down in there. Another thing that I could do, if I wanted, say I needed to get this actual image of this structural column into this tool set because I need to use it again, any markup tool that you have, you can just right click on it, and you have an option here, Add to Tool Chest, and it will allow you to add to any of your tool sets, your custom tool sets. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to this ABC tool set, and you'll see that it's located right here. We also have a number of custom tool sets on our website that you can download and load into your copy of Revu. So this is going to be located on the support page of Revu, and you click on Tool Sets, and you'll notice we have them all listed here for you to download. So we have, some HVAC symbols there. We also have some very useful punch keys for the punch process. I'm going to actually just download that one and show you what that looks like when that loads into your copy of Revu. So it's going to go ahead and load it in and import it. And now you'll notice here at the bottom, I now have my punch key for the ceiling punch process here. And just to show you, you have some options. This is particularly useful for punch. If you click on this cogwheel here, you can either look at it in the symbol view, which is that's what it is now, or the detail view. If I click on detail, it's going to show me the symbol, the subject line, and also the comment. For punch, the comment is going to be a description of what needs to be done. So this is particularly useful when you're viewing these punch tool keys to look at it in the detailed view. You can also export this individual tool set directly from here or pin it to the toolbar. I'm going to put this back into symbol mode. And that's the basics of what I wanted to show you as far as the tool sets and creating those custom tool sets. Now I wanted to talk about how to actually track those markups in our markups list. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this and get into the markups list, which as I mentioned is down here at the bottom. So you can think of the markups list as sort of like an Excel spreadsheet. If you are someone who is still doing your process of making markups on pen and paper, this is what you would have to go back to your office and actually transcribe into Excel. With Revu, you don't have to worry about that. So every single markup that you place on the document is going to be tracked here in the markups list. And you'll notice as I scroll through here, it's going to basically highlight that particular markup. So you can think of it as a way to basically say who said what and when they actually said it, and have all of that tracked. And before I actually go into showing you more about the markups list, I want to get some more markups onto this document. So I wanted to show you a very cool feature we have called import markups. So a very common scenario that people find themselves in, if you're a project manager or you're sort of the gatekeeper for this project, and you have this particular drawing that you need to get comments on, and let's say you need to send it out to 4 different people from different disciplines and get their comments. So you actually email this document out to them, they mark it up, and they email it back to you. So what you have is 4 different copies of the same drawing but with different markups on it, and you need a way to merge them. Very easy to do that with the markups list. You click on this icon called import, and this is going to import just the comments and put them all on this active document. So it's basically going to ask me where are those PDF files, and I'm going to multi-select 4 different ones. and I'm going to go ahead and say open. And now what you'll notice is Revu just placed all of these comments from these 4 different people. Here's the little key here at the top. And it placed them all down onto this existing drawing for me. So it's merged them all. So now what you'll notice when we look at the markups list, you can see I have them all sorted. You can sort by any column by simply clicking on the header of that column. So when I click on subject, it's going to sort. And because we set all of these subject lines up and we have our custom tool sets, it's all neatly sorted out for me. So I can see all of the different disciplines and who said what from each one. So literally I can scroll through here and go through all of these comments. So you'll notice there's a number of different columns here located showing different pieces of information. You can see all of the different column options by clicking on the down arrow of columns, and you can turn them on and off here. So let's say I don't actually need to see the lock column, but I do want to see a layer column, so I'm going to turn that one on as well. You can also adjust the width of the columns by simply clicking on the border and dragging and dropping them. We have a very useful thing. If you're someone who basically your job is to go through these and sort them and figure out what's been done and what hasn't been done, to basically create sort of task lists of items that need to be done. One thing you could do is you could literally just use our checkmark feature if you wanted to and go through them, and as they're completed, check them off. But an even more sophisticated way of dealing with these is to use our status column here. So Revu comes with a number of statuses already set up, but you can also set up your own custom statuses, and I'm going to show you how to do that here. So let's say if you're working on the plumbing issues here, and you want to go in here and set some statuses. So this says it needs to be replaced with ADA compliant fixtures. You could go in and say, okay, this has been completed. And it's going to track it with some accountability here. So it's going to say who said it was completed and on what date and what time. I can go ahead and say this was completed as well. So you can actually go into the Manage Status cogwheel here. That's going to open up the Manage Status dialog box, and this is where you can make some changes or set up some actual new status elements to set as well. So under Revu here, you'll notice these are the options. You could go in here if you didn't like this naming convention. You could go in here and hit Modify and change it. You could also set a color change to occur when a status is set. So let's say every time we say a particular markup is accepted or completed, we want to turn the color of the markup to be green. So you have a visual representation of that markup being completed or accepted. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that one green. I'm also going to go to completed, check the color, and turn that one to green. And then let's say anything that you say is rejected, you're going to turn to red. Or if you have set no status, you're going to turn that to red as well. So those are things that still are outstanding and need to be dealt with. So now I'm going to say OK. Now if I go back into my plumbing things here, and let's say we've got this particular comment here, need chase for roof drains. And if we say this is rejected, you can see that it is turned to red. So now you have an actual visual that this basically still needs to be dealt with. If you say this one is actually accepted or completed, you can see that that actually turns to green. So you can see that that's been completed. So you can go in there and set any of those statuses and have color changes. This is particularly useful if you're using those punch keys, that you can have them just turn red or green to show whether they're completed. Additionally, what you could do with the custom statuses is you could set up additional statuses that need to be set. So you could have multiple layers of different statuses. So let's say there's this review process. Let's say you also have to do an engineer's review. So I'm just going to do a quick engineering review status. So they have to come in and set their own statuses. So I can just do a quick, we're just going to do a quick accepted and rejected for the engineer. And I'm going to say OK here. So now we have two different layers of statuses that are set up. I'm going to say OK. And now you'll notice when we go in here and want to set a status, we have two that we can set. So we can set the first one, and then we can go in and set the engineering review. And they're both going to be in here. So this is what a lot of our customers will use when multiple people need to review comments, that they can set up multiple ones in the custom statuses. So all that's going to be done right here in the markups list. So one other thing I wanted to show you by example here is in terms of creating reports. So after you've gone through this list, and let's say I'm actually going to filter. If you click on filter here, you can basically just show one particular set of comments. So let's say I only want to show those plumbing comments that we have. So when I do that, you'll notice on the drawing itself, just the plumbing ones in purple are being shown, and everything else is there, but it's grayed out, so it's not standing out as much. So I wanted to show you our custom columns. And the custom columns, I go into this in a lot more depth when we did our webinar specifically on the markups list, and I'll show you where that recording is at the end of today's training. But the responsibility column here is actually a custom column that I set up. So this didn't come pre-set up within Revu. But you can access custom columns by clicking on the Manage Columns dialog, and then click on the Custom Columns tab. So you can really think of custom columns as giving you a lot of power in terms of being able to add additional data to your markups. So people, could add potentially a due date for this item. You could add a parts number. This is where you could add pricing for different materials if you're doing estimation and actually be able to price out that with formulas. All of that is done with the custom columns. In this case, I wanted to set a responsibility to assign this to a specific subcontractor to deal with. So I'm just going to show you how I did this so you can get a sense of how it works. So if I click on that and click Modify, you'll notice the type of column. This refers to what type of data is going to be put into it. You have some different options here. In this case, it's just a choice. So I want to set up different potential people to select. And you'll notice I've already pre-populated this with a whole bunch of different subcontractors that I work with. And I linked each subcontractor to their trade. So the trade is going to be put in the subject line and the person's name. So basically, anytime I'm selecting something that was marked as an electrical item under the subject line, these are the different people that are going to be options for that particular responsibility assignment. So you can see in here I have a few for plumbing already set up. Let's say I want to add one more person, a new subcontractor I'm working with, Eastone, and I'm going to link him to plumbing. So anytime I'm filling out a responsibility for plumbing, he's going to be an option. I'm going to say OK, and you'll notice he's now listed down here at the bottom. I'm going to say OK again and get out of the custom columns. And now when I go over to set my responsibility, I just select there, and it's giving me all these different people to select from. I'm going to go ahead and select Eastone as being responsible for dealing with a bunch of these items, and then maybe we have our McCam as well, so I can literally go in here and put them in. And then now that you've actually set up some responsibility items, I can then create, I have some options for creating a report to send off to these people so they know exactly what needs to be done. In the markups list, we have a few reporting options under summary. So if you click the down arrow, you'll see that you can export this to either CSV or XML, in which case you could open it up in Excel, or I could create a PDF summary. And I'm going to do that here. I'm going to filter again and only show Eastone's items, and then I'm going to create a summary. And I'm going to go ahead and call this Eastone task list. And I'm going to say OK. And Revu is going to generate this report for me, and it's going to append it to the original drawing itself. So if I get out of that markups list so you can see it, I'm in a thumbnails tab now. This shows me the original drawing filtered out, and then it shows me this Eastone task list. And you can see that it's going to show all the columns that I have on. So it has that status in there. It also has the comments of what needs to actually be done. All of that is in there. It also shows a thumbnail view here. So this is a thumbnail of that particular markup, and it's pre-linked already. So if you click on it, it goes to that exact markup on the actual drawing itself. So you can see the markup within the greater context. And if I needed to go back and see, I could literally click to the next page, and it will get me back to the page that I was on. So this is a report that I could just go up here and click email, and then I could then send that off to Eastone. One other thing that I forgot to show you that I wanted to show you, going back to our original drawing here, and I'm going to take off the filtering. You can take off the filtering by just clicking on the filter button again, and it's going to basically go back to showing you everything. When I set up and imported all this data, I actually set up each of these different disciplines to be attached to a specific layer. So I actually have all of these markups on layers. For this structural one that I added in here, I could actually go in here and I could click on this and I could add it to a new layer. So I could do that on the fly. So I could add it to one of my existing layers that I set up, or I could actually create a new layer called structural and be able to add those markups to that layer. So then if I opened up my Layers tab, and you can get to that from Tab Access up here, and I click on Layers, you'll notice I have all of these markups on layers. So I could go in here and I could individually turn off different layers. So now I'm just showing the architectural comments, and then I could turn them off. So you can do all of that in the markups list as well. So one final thing that I wanted to show you is how to create custom stamps. And let's go ahead and close out of the layers dialog. So within Revu, the stamps are going to be located under markups, and there's the stamp option here. Your copy of Revu is going to come with a number of stamps already set up. For instance, you have a basic, for Revu stamp. So if you selected that, you could just basically drag it on as big as you want. And in this case, this is a dynamic stamp, so it's going to automatically update the time and the date that the For Revu stamp was placed on there. One thing I wanted to show you, within the Thumbnails tab, if I opened up a multi-page document, this is a 13-page set of drawings, and I open up this Thumbnails tab over here, it shows you every single page in this document. If I click on this cogwheel under Options, and then click Apply Stamp, it's going to allow me to apply a stamp to multiple pages or to a subset of these pages. And you can basically control exactly where you want it to appear. So if I wanted it to go, say, in the upper left-hand corner, I could also rotate it if I wanted to, scale it up and down, and I could decide, exactly a custom range, for instance. Maybe I just wanted it to go on the first 4 pages. And it could basically paste that stamp, apply that stamp to multiple pages at once. So you'll notice it put it up here in the upper left-hand corner. So that's just how to use our stamps that are pre-set up and be able to apply that to multiple pages at once. But let's talk about if you want to create your own custom stamp. So we can do that by going to the stamps and then going to the very bottom. If I scroll down, I have a lot of stamps in here, and then click on Create Stamp. And all of our stamps are basically PDF files. So if you needed to import a stamp, you could do that as well, import an existing stamp that's a PDF file. I'm going to go ahead and call this ABC Approval Stamp. And you have some options here. I'm going to start with a basic template of text with a border. I'm going to go ahead and make this, say, 2 inches by 4 inches. Actually, I'm going to do 3 inches by 4 inches. I can change the text color and line color if I wanted to right here. I'm going to say OK. So now we have this basic outline for a stamp. So then I could go in here and call this ABC Company. I could go ahead and move this to the top here. And let's say I have some text from a Word file that I need to place in here, just some sort of legalese text that I need to put on all of my stamps. I could go ahead and open up a file. This is Reviews for General Conformance Only type of information. And I can literally just copy and paste that text and then go back into my stamp and paste it in there. All this is just a simple text box. Of course, this is way too big. So I can just highlight over this and then go in here to my font bar and make it the size that I want it to be. I'm going to get rid of that. And now I can go ahead, oops, this is too big as well, and make some adjustments to this. So you can just kind of play around with the text size and the font that you want it to be. And get rid of that. And now we've got our basic text there. We've got some information on this particular project. And now we want to add some dynamic information. So I want to say approved by, and then adjust this approved by, and I'm going to hit the down arrow for dynamic, and I'm going to go ahead and put the username. So this is going to be the username of that person who put the stamp on there. So we've done that, and I'm going to go ahead and adjust, again, the font size. And then I can go in here and put the date. So I'm going to select a date from our dynamic list there, and I'm just going to put date, colon. So now it's going to have approved by and date down there. And then since I didn't end up using all the space that I wanted to use, I can go in here and actually make the stamp, adjust the actual size of the stamp right here by adjusting the text box and the border within it. So you can just kind of play around with this and get it to be the exact size that you want it to be. I could also go in here to the actual border here and go over to my properties, and I could, for instance, change the line width. If I want to make the line width a little bit smaller, I can make that black if I want it to match. And then if I wanted to just do an approval across the top in a diagonal way, I can do a little text box here that says approved. And I could make this a lot bigger and then bold it. And then I could actually rotate this. And then I could change the opacity on that and take that opacity down. So we just have an approved that's diagonally across that stamp. So you can just play around that, get that looking exactly how you like. And once you like it, then you can go ahead and click Save. And it's going to save it to your Bluebeam Revu Stamps folder. I'm going to go ahead and save that there. And so now what you'll notice, if I go back to my Sundance Resort, under Stamps, you'll see that I now have an option for ABC Approval Stamp, the one that I just created. So I can select that, and I can literally paste that on there, and I now have my custom stamp pasted on there. If you ever needed to go in and edit that stamp, if you select it here, there's an option here for edit, and that's going to open up that stamp again so you can go in there and make any changes that you need to make there. So again, very easy to go in and make some dynamic stamps customized exactly how you need it for your company and have them be saved in your stamp markup tool. You can, of course, also just easily email this off to someone to share it with someone else, and they could get it into their stamps folder as well. So I wanted to just go over one or two things for additional training options, and then go over a couple questions that have come in throughout the training. So in terms of getting some additional support, if you've basically been interested in the content that I've covered today and just want to learn more, Bluebeam University is the place to go. This is where we have over 100 5- to 10-minute video clips taking you through all of our different features and how to use this for workflows. This is the sort of do-it-yourself, learn-at-your-own pace place to go. So you'll notice under our review 201, this is where you can learn more about the tool chest, the markups list. Under review 301, you can learn a lot more about customization, those features that I covered today in terms of customizing the interface. All of these different sections have places to learn more about all of our features. You can also click on Bluebeam Webinars, and this is where all of our webinars are posted. The one that I was talking about that really goes into detail on those custom columns is this Review Basics Tracking with the Markups list. This is also where we'll have this customization webinar will be posted next week. So Bluebeam University is a great place for you to learn more about using the program. Also wanted to point out that we are going to, this is the final webinar in this series. The next series of webinars, if you go to our events page on our website, is going to be in a few weeks. As you know, Review 11 is going to be coming out in less than a month. And we have a series of pre-release webinars, March 14th and 15th, that are going to take you through a test drive of some of our really exciting new features. So you can go to our events page and register for those webinars here. Finally, I wanted to show you some information if you want to basically learn more about using Review and maybe want to get a custom training just for your team. We have a few options for customized trainings. We can actually come on site to your company and develop a completely customized training for your team. We've done these for specific groups of people, such as project managers, CAD managers, estimators, admin and accounting teams. We can spend the whole day with you, have everyone with their laptop, and be following along as we go through the different feature sets. We can also do this in a webinar. So if you want to do it web-based, we can set up a customized webinar for your team or teams, either in group training or one-on-one training. Very useful in terms of getting people up and running very quickly, showing you exactly how to use just the features that you need for your daily work. So that's all I had for you today. Just wanted to take a few questions that look like they've come in today. One person's asking, can I add a logo to a stamp? And yes, the answer is yes. Actually, let me go back over here. I didn't add it here, but if you needed to add your logo to a stamp, very easy to do that. If I just put a little space in here, you could use our insert image tool to do that. And move that down there. Insert image right here. So I just have a Bluebeam logo here. I could actually select that and then just simply place that over there. So the insert image tool in your markups is what you're going to want to use and place on your stamp to add your logo there. So next question is coming in, are custom columns saved to a profile? Good question. The answer is no, they are not. So the custom columns that we set up down here in the markups list, you'll notice that responsibility was a custom column. This is not associated with any particular profile. It is actually saved to this particular document. So the custom columns are also always associated with the document itself. When you do set up those custom columns, you do have an option to apply template, which basically means every time you open up a document and set up custom columns, it's going to basically remember the ones you already set up if you're using the same ones over and over again. But there's no association to the profile. It's just associated with the PDF itself. It's saved within that. Another question here, can you email a profile to someone? Yes, you can definitely email a profile file to someone. You could either save it to a network drive, maybe upload it to an FTP server, or you could just simply email it to them to get it to them that way. Next question, are custom tool sets, are they supported, or are custom tool sets compatible on Revu iPad? And how do you get them to the iPad? Excellent question. So as many of you might already know, we do have an app for the iPad, and it does support the tool chest and custom tool sets. So yes, if you have custom tool sets, you can get them onto the iPad. You'd have to create them actually within Revu on Windows. So you would create them here, as I showed you. But to get them to the iPad, you'd have a couple options. Export them to iTunes. You could use Dropbox, or you could use Box and be able to put those files for the custom tool sets. And you do that by going to the Manage Toolsets option, selecting the one that you want to export, and click Export. And that's going to allow you to save that BTX file. And then you could, for instance, upload that to your Dropbox account and then connect to Dropbox from the Revu iPad. So that's how you would get your custom tool sets over to the iPad. So that's all the questions that I have here that I thought would be relevant to everyone. I do have Joel and Jeremy still here answering some additional questions, so I'm going to keep the webinar open for a few minutes if you have some more questions. But I wanted to thank everyone for spending some time with me today, and I hope this has been useful to you and gotten you more excited about how you can customize Revu for your workflows. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.